Welcome to In Pursuit of Truth. This is your host, Sir Patrick Mactacular. Ladies and gentlemen, pardon our dust. We're renovating.
And his name is John C.
Savage. Speaking of Savage, John, how many posts we got? Yes, sir. 3326, 19 minutes after the hour of 1. Q post this right here. Truth, transparency, and equal justice under the law. Drain the swamp. United we stand, we the people. Where we go one, we go all. Q. Well, while the POTUS is draining the swamp, looks like yours truly is sitting this quarter out working with some limited content today. As for the next 12 hours, I'm in Twitter jail. We've temporarily limited some of your account features. And there's the offending tweet right there in the center of your screen at Ilhan Omar, which is why you won't last long. And I think it would be that last keyword that probably did it in for me. Now, it says I violated their rules against hateful conduct. You may not promote violence, which I did not. Threaten, which I did not. Harass other people, well, I did call her, but it's true. On the basis of race, not so much. Ethnicity, not so much. National origin, sexual orientation, gender identity, religious affiliation, age, disability, or serious disease. Nope, just calling her what she's been calling us all along. So anyway, yours truly is bumped off of Twitter for the next quarter. You're going to have to play this one without me. Post 3327, 25 minutes after the hour of 1, we get this Guardian link right here. Q says, soon to be a household name. Lots of caps there. STBAHHN. And the link takes you to the Guardian. GCHQ Chief Robert Hannigan quits. Now, this was from back in January 24th, 2017. Oddly enough, this was just a couple days after Trump's inauguration. The director of GCHQ, Robert Hannigan, is to stand down early for personal reasons, mainly health issues involving his wife and other family members. Hannigan only took over at the UK surveillance agency in November 2014 to oversee a more open approach after revelations by the NSA whistleblower Edward Snowden put GCHQ on the defensive in 2013. His sudden resignation, he informed staff just hours before making this decision public, prompted speculation that it might be related to British concerns over shared intelligence with the U.S. in the wake of Donald Trump becoming president. Well, that's starting to look a little bit more apparent, right? But the GCHQ press release stressed his decision was exclusively for family reasons, as well as his ill wife. Hannigan has two elderly parents to look after. He will remain in post until a successor is appointed. In a press statement, he said, I've been lucky enough to have some extraordinary roles in public service over the last 20 years, from Northern Ireland to number 10, the Cabinet Office and the Foreign Office. But they have all demanded a great deal of my ever-patient and understanding family, and now is the right time for a change in direction. Yeah, your timing is absolutely spot on. So let's talk a little bit about some of his achievements, huh? Hannigan's background was not initially in intelligence. Born in Gloucester in 1965 and brought up in Yorkshire, he had been a high-flying civil servant at the Northern Ireland office, where he was head of communications and later political director. He was involved in the peace process, credited with coming up with the idea for a diamond-shaped table in order to get over objections by the opposing sides about seating arrangements. Brilliant! He transferred to London, where he became involved in a series of intelligence jobs, including defense and liaison with the U.S., before going on to GCHQ, where he worked for 6 months as part of the handover before taking control. At the time, GCHQ, in spite of many of its secrets spilled by Snowden, remained the most secretive of the three intelligence agencies, the other being MI6 and MI5. But Hannigan expanded the press team, invited more journalists to visit GCHQ, and encouraged a stream of of news stories aimed at bringing the agency into the public eye.
Got a flashback aside, take you back,
Taking you back to a little over a year ago, 16th of April, post 1164, Q says reread Five Eyes being the US, the UK, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. Well, all this information that was being compiled for the Steele dossier had to go around those. They weren't going through the official Five Eyes channel, right? They needed to avoid US data collection laws. And of course, so Barack Hussein in the membrane had to order something else. Now remember, FISA was just the cover-up. That was the public story. Public dossier FISA. What was not public is that this unofficial Five Eyes group, UK, Australia, POTUS targeting using push Russian decoy meetings. And likely that's what Hannigan was helping set up. Some of these Russian decoy meetings, campaign insertions. Hussein, HRC, Loretta Lynch being Aunt Loretta, Brendan Clapper, National Security, White House Situation Room, Op UK, Australia assists and set up. In order to set up that kind of information sharing between top levels of our intelligence groups and theirs, we would need a guy like Robert Hannigan, right? He was likely involved in this setup all along. Now, I want to go ahead and address this letter right here, as I know that hundreds of you guys are going to be sending me this already. This is from Robert Hannigan to Boris Johnson. This was dated the 17th of November, 2016. And you can see this is an application for renewal of a warrant, surveillance warrant. Number one, on 28th of August 2016, GCHQ CSO filed for permission to execute Project Folsom at the request of the U.S. president. That would have been Obama seeking intelligence gathering into the Trump Organization and Donald J. Trump for President Incorporated, both located at 725 Fifth Avenue, New York, New York. Now let's take you down to the highlighted section, number 4 there. U.S. National Security Advisor Rice has requested that we continue our surveillance during the transition period as internal U.S. intelligence is potentially compromised by the incoming Trump administration. Okay, so this is very interesting stuff here, and if this is indeed true, then we can see why this is going to take us right back to President Obama at the time, because it looks like they probably would have even met in person. Now, I'm not 100% sure about the validity of this letter. I also want to show you a side-by-side here. This is a copy of Hannigan's resignation letter. It could be very well lifted. I have always doubted the validity of this. I could very well be wrong, but if this letter is indeed true, then this is very damning information for not only Hannigan, but for Susan Rice and Barack Hussein in the membrane, Obama. Now, I just want to point out that that signature probably is like some sort of signature stamp or something like that. It definitely looks exactly the same to me, and that's probably why. That wouldn't necessarily surprise me. But like I said, I've always been a little bit suspicious about the validity of this letter. Now, if I'm wrong, I hope I am wrong about this, because this, like I said, would mean some very, very big things. But like we've said before, FISA was one of the backup plans in this Project Folsom as well as Project Hammer. There were a lot of other spying operations going on well before President Trump was elected. Now, like I said, this letter was dated the 17th of November 2016. That would have been just days after Trump's election. So if this is indeed legit, then this is a really big deal, going all the way to the top. And we know that Q has been hinting at Barack Obama lately, calling him renegade, right? His Secret Service name. This would show that he not only knew about this spying, but this was at the request of the U.S. president. So this implicates him in essentially treason. Susan Rice, Boris Johnson, Robert Hannigan, and of course Brennan and Clapper would also be lumped in there too. So this would be a really big deal. Now, I also want to point out too that this was dated the 17th of November 2016. What else happened back then? That would have been when Admiral Mike Rogers traveled to New York to warn our now POTUS that he was being spied on. And then just a couple days later after that, would have been on the 19th, Brennan and Clapper were calling for the firing of Admiral Mike Rogers. Now, I also want to remind you that a couple months before this letter was drafted, Obama was also in the UK, and we know that the Obama administration paid Stephen Halper a little bit of coin to set up some meetings, and that features our boy Hackloy and, of course, John Brennan. So if indeed this is all the case, and it appears to be, then I imagine our Hannigan friend is soon to be a household name. Let's move on to the next post for now. 33:28, 29 minutes after the hour of 1. And Anon posts this: the warrior. A warrior is the protector of his family and those in need. A warrior is the guardian of the ways of honor and courage. A warrior will not put his own desires above what is right. Above all, a warrior is always motivated by his utmost duty. Indeed. And the Anon says, D-Class is coming. Q says, D-Class, pre or post IG report. Comey, who's in brackets, pre or post IG report. C comes before D. All right, so it looks like the timeline will be that the Comey memos will come out before the D-Class, and I imagine the D-Class is going to be last. Now, if you listen to the POTUS interview with Hannity from a few days back, we know that President Trump plans to D-Class it all. It's just a matter of when we're going to get it and how we're going to get it. I imagine, like I've always said, bacony, cheesy bites. But he said that a lot was coming and a lot more that people didn't expect. And we're going to talk about that probably in a future episode here. But we do know that it is coming. Now, we also had Joe DeGenova on Fox. And he was saying that in the next couple of weeks, we are going to get some of these Comey memos that a lot of people had forgotten about, and that this was going to be really, really damning. And that's probably why Comey's name is in brackets. Now, I also want to point out that in 2016, Comey also traveled to the UK. So how about that? Are we going to get a little insight in regards to the Comey memos? But it looks like the memos are going to come before the D-Class. And of course, the IG report should be coming out in late May. So that would be the schedule, I guess. The Comey memos, IG report, and the D-Class. Post 33:29, 44 minutes after the hour of 1. Q says, fast forward 1 year, and gives us this Hill link right here. Let's check this out first. Adam Schiff, Glenn Simpson, and their Forrest Gump-like encounter in Aspen. This was from February of 2019 by John Solomon. The new House Intelligence Committee Chairman, Adam Schiff, has proven to be his party's most effective antagonist towards President Donald Trump. And now, with the new powers of being chairman, he is drawing both new weapons and new scrutiny. Sometimes such scrutiny inevitably turns to questions of hypocrisy, which brings us to the issue of some photographs taken at the prestigious Aspen Security Conference last July. They show Schiff meeting at the event with Fusion GPS founder Glenn Simpson, one of the key and most controversial figures in the Russia collusion scandal. Both men insisted to me through spokesmen that they met only briefly last July. At the time of the encounter, Simpson was an important witness in the House Intelligence Committee probe, who had given sworn testimony about alleged but still unproven collusion between Russia and the Trump campaign. Simpson ran the firm hired by Hillary Clinton's campaign and the Democratic Party to find dirt on Trump in Moscow. He employed retired British intelligence operative Christopher Steele, whose infamous and unverified dossier became the main evidence for the FBI's probe of the Trump campaign, particularly the surveillance warrant against Trump campaign advisor Carter Page. All right, so we know about that already. Why is that such a big deal? By the time of the meeting, the House Intelligence Committee had already received evidence from a senior Justice Department official, Bruce Orr, that called into question Simpson's testimony to lawmakers. Specifically, Simpson claimed that he had not begun meeting with Orr until after Thanksgiving 2016, well after the FBI had begun investigating Trump-Russia collusion, and after the presidential election in which Simpson's client, Clinton, lost to Trump. Well, we know a little different now, right? But Bruce Orr provided compelling evidence, including calendar notations, testimony, and handwritten notes, showing that Simpson met with him in August 2016, well before the election and during a time when Steele was helping the FBI start an investigation into Trump. When confronted with the Aspen conference photos of Schiff in sports coat and open neck dress shirt and Simpson wearing casual attire, representatives for both men tried to minimize their discussion, insisting nothing substantive about the Russia case was discussed.
Got a flashback of signs, yeah, take you back, yeah.
Now I want to take you even further back to July of 2017 to the other Aspen Security Forum, where of course we still had Adam Schiff there. Looks like he's one of the speakers there. But look who else is a speaker there. Outgoing Government Communications Headquarters Director Robert Hannigan. Well. So the slopes of Aspen must have been the place to be if you wanted to get a little leaky pants information going on, right? After all, you got those ambassadors there. You got all those intel guys and former heads of state and whatnot. Well, I think that's what Q is referring to in this fast forward 1 year, rewind 1 year. Bigger story yet to be discovered. I imagine a lot of meetings like this were a place where leaks would go down. Leaks investigations go both ways. That means Republicans and Democrats. A house needs to be constantly clean, and we most certainly know that our house is certainly dirty and still needs a little house cleaning itself. Let's move on to the next post. 33:30. 13 minutes and 33 seconds after the hour of 2, we get this Sarah Carter scarticle right here. Breaking: FBI texts show agents discussed recruiting White House sources to spy for Bureau. Senior Republican chairman submitted a letter Thursday to DOJ Attorney General William Barr revealing new texts from former FBI Special Agent Peter Strzok to his paramour FBI Attorney Lisa Page, showing the pair had discussed attempts to recruit sources within the White House to allegedly spy on the Trump administration. Senate Appropriations Committee Chairman Charles Grassley and Senate Homeland Security Committee Chairman Ron Johnson revealed the information in a 3-page letter. The text had been obtained by SarahACarter.com Tuesday, and information regarding the possible attempt to recruit White House sources has been divulged by several sources to this news site last week. The text and sources reveal that Strzok had one significant contact within the White House: Vice President Mike Pence's chief of staff, Joshua Pitcock, whose wife was working as an analyst for Strzok on the FBI's investigation into Hillary Clinton's use of a private server. A senior White House official told this news site that Pitcock's wife recused herself from the Clinton investigation as soon as Pence and Trump became the Republican nominees in July 2016. A senior law enforcement official also told SarahACarter.com that Pitcock's wife no longer worked under Strzok after she recused herself from the Clinton investigation. However, the text messages uncovered from November 2016 and have left questions lingering about the relationship between Strzok, Pitcock, and his wife among congressional investigators and lawmakers. And remember, that's November 2016. The course of our oversight work, we have reviewed certain text messages that may show potential attempts by the FBI to conduct surveillance of President-elect Trump's transition team, the letter states. In text messages exchanged between former FBI Special Agent Peter Strzok and former FBI Attorney Lisa Page, the two discussed the possibility of developing potential relationships at a November 2016 FBI briefing for presidential transition team staff. Specifically, it appears they discussed sending the CI guy, which I imagine is counterintelligence guy, to assess an unnamed person demeanor, but were concerned because it might be unusual for him to attend. The senators are investigating if any of these communications and the precise purpose of any attempts to develop relationships with Trump or VP Mike Pence transition team staff are not immediately clear. Were these efforts done to gain better communication between the respective parties, or were the briefings used as intelligence gathering operations? Further, did any such surveillance activities continue beyond the inauguration, and in the event that they did, which they did, were those activities subject to proper predication? The letter states, any improper FBI surveillance activities that were conducted before or after the 2016 election must be brought to light and properly addressed. And here's the text right here. Strzok says, talking with Bill being Bill Priestap, do we want Joe to go with the Evanina instead of Charlie for a variety of reasons? Strzok is referring to former FBI Assistant Director of Counterintelligence Division Bill Priestap. Joe is referencing FBI Special Agent Joe Pientka, who interviewed former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn in January 2017. And Evanina is in reference to William Evanina, National Counterintelligence and Security Center. Lisa Page says, not sure. Would it be unusual to have show up again? Maybe another agent from the team? Strzok says, or he's the CI guy. Same might make sense. He can assess if there are any news, cues, or different demeanor. If Katie's husband is there, he can see if there are people we can develop for potential relationships. And Page says, should I ask Andy about it? I'm imagining that's Andy McCabe or Bill Priestap want to reach out for Andy. Strzok says, I told him I'm sure he would ask if you'd make the swap. We thought it. Now it says here, an intelligence analyst named Catherine is married to Joshua Pitcock. Catherine's name is different from her husband's. Peacock worked for Pence as his chief of staff from January 2017 until he resigned in August 2017. Prior to accepting his then new role at the White House, he had served as a senior Trump campaign official and longtime aide to Pence. Catherine had been detailed to Strzok and, according to sources, was one of the top analysts in the investigation into Hillary Clinton, according to federal law enforcement sources and U.S. officials. Strzok was removed from special counsel Robert Mueller's team in 2017 and then fired from the FBI in August 2018. He was fired after an extensive review by Inspector General Michael Horowitz's office into the FBI's handling of the Clinton investigation and was removed from Mueller's team after the IG discovered his anti-Trump text messages to his paramour, former FBI attorney Lisa Page. Trump announced Pence as his pick on July 15, 2016. They officially became nominees on July 21, 2016 at the Republican convention. This means Catherine was working on the Russia investigation with Strzok prior to that time frame. Strzok's direct involvement and actions during the investigation will more than likely lead to criminal charges, a source with knowledge told SarahACarter.com. A former senior intelligence official who spoke to this news site said, "My concern about this is the potential for information to flow from her to her husband to spin any information that the vice president may or may not have heard during that time frame." The former intelligence source said the connection raises questions regarding information that may have moved from the FBI into the vice president's orbit regarding former NSA advisor Michael Flynn, they added. The senior White House official responded saying she was recused from that investigation before he was ever sworn into office. That didn't happen. However, the texts leave many questions unanswered and appear to show that Strzok was in communication with Peacock on some level, the intelligence official added. During the time Peacock served as chief of staff, Flynn became the highest profile target of the now debunked investigation into the campaign. In the letter, Grassley and Johnson refer to Barr's testimony. During your April 10, 2019 testimony before a Senate Appropriations Subcommittee, you stated that you were looking into the genesis and conduct of intelligence activities directed at the Trump campaign during 2016. You further stated that spying did occur and that you believe it is your obligation to look into the question of whether surveillance activities by the FBI or other intelligence agencies were adequately predicated. Okay, so this is interesting stuff here, and I'm not so sure how directly this will implicate Pence or his wife. I know there's a lot of questions going on around if this has anything to do with the mysterious envelope that Pence's wife received at Bush's funeral. I'm not really sure about that. But what interests me here is this line right here. A former senior intelligence official who spoke to this news site. Well, who would that be? Would that be Admiral Mike Rogers? Who was that senior intelligence official? Seems like that'd be pretty important. My concern about this is the potential for information to flow from her to her husband to spin any information that the vice president may or may not have heard during that time frame. The former intelligence source said the connection raises questions regarding information that may have moved from the FBI into the vice president's orbit regarding former NSA advisor Michael Flynn, they added. And if you'll remember that the judge who accepted Flynn's plea in that case was Rudolph Contreras. And he was a personal friend of one Peter Strzok. So we've got a lot of conflicts of interest here. Q says chain of command, chain of custody. Looks like the Obama administration basically went right outside that, right? Pence's chief of staff plus wife, FBI 302s. Now we know that there's a lot of FBI agents that have been willing to come forward and give their 302s. So could some of these statements lead to an exoneration of Flynn, showing that this FISA abuse essentially was to be able to spy on not just Flynn, but Carter Page, George Papadopoulos, and Trump Jr., and eventually to Trump himself, right? Will newly discovered evidence, AG Barr, Southern District of New York, free Flynn? Well, I can't help but think that's probably possible considering that they've been kicking the can down the road on the sentencing of Flynn, almost like they're expecting it to turn around or we're going to get some newly discovered evidence. Now, once again, like I said, I really have no idea how directly this is going to implicate someone like Pence, but it definitely shows that there was a conflict of interest way high up. Now, I want to take you back a couple years ago to a little statement that Judge Napolitano made on Fox News. Check this out.
So 3 intelligence sources have informed Fox News that President Obama went outside the chain of command. He didn't use the NSA, he didn't use the CIA, he didn't use the FBI, and he didn't use the Department of Justice. He used GCHQ. What the heck is GCHQ? That's the initials for the British spying agency. They have 24/7 access to the NSA database. So by simply having two people go to them saying, President Obama needs transcripts of conversations involving candidate Trump, conversations involving President-elect Trump, he's able to get it. And there's no American fingerprints on this.
So you're saying that the British used their version of the CIA to wiretap Donald Trump's phone or
well,
tower?
It's not a wiretap. The concept of plugging a wire into a phone box in the basement of a building is what the law was when these statutes were written in 1978. Everything is done electronically now via computer. The NSA has 24/7, 365 access to every mainframe computer of every telecom and every computer service provider that does business in the United States. And they share that with various intelligence agencies, including the Brits. So the British intelligence agency had this. What happened to the guy who ordered this? Resigned.
Incredible.
3 days after Donald Trump was inaugurated.
Exactly, and that was our boy Hannigan right there. All right, kids, those are your Q posts. As you know, we cannot have any of those bombshell reports without the deep state having to respond in turn with a little bit of violence. This is off the LA Times. Rabbi gives sermon of strength after being shot at Poway Synagogue. Services at the Shabbat of Poway Synagogue were underway Saturday morning when a white man holding a semi-automatic weapon entered. One guy was shooting at everybody and cursing, said synagogue member Minu Anvari, whose husband was inside when the shooting broke out. Witnesses said a rabbi is among the injured, reportedly shot in the hand. He apparently continued with his sermon after being wounded, telling people to stay strong. One message from all of us in our congregation is that we are standing together. We are getting stronger, Anvari said. Never again. You can't break us. We are strong. Danny Almug, 40, had just arrived at the synagogue with his family when he heard 6 shots, noise he thought he might be a chandelier falling or chairs crashing. Screams followed. Hide yourself. Shooting, shooting, shooting. He saw the gunman, white, about 5'8", and carrying a gun that Almog said looked like an M16. He didn't say nothing. Almog said just came in and started shooting. Almog said he dropped to the floor and started crawling to find his kids. He saw that his father-in-law had thrown his body over the Almog's 2.5-year-old son to protect him. Then saw the older man get up, and he ran to grab his 4-year-old daughter, Yuli, who had been in a children's playroom with perhaps a dozen other kids. Okay, so this is a pretty suspect story, and again, just another terrible story coming from North San Diego. Now I want to take you over here. This is the DCPatriot.com. Monster. Synagogue shooter is anti-Jewish, anti-Trump, and anti-conservative. The Poway Synagogue shooter is a monster, America. Make no mistake about it. Poway Synagogue shooter update. 19-year-old John Ernest identified as suspect. According to multiple law enforcement sources, authorities have surrounded Ernest's Rancho Penasquitos home. He also published a racist manifesto. Of course he did. All these knuckleheads have a manifesto. In a manifesto, Ernest takes credit for a recent mosque fire in Escondido. Escondido police confirmed detectives are now investigating whether Ernest is responsible. In the manifesto, he does a sick Q&A with himself. Are you a Trump supporter? You mean that Zionist, Jew-loving, anti-white traitorous? Don't make me laugh. And here's a tweet from Matt Couch. Shooter at Shabbat of Poway Synagogue in California was not a Trump supporter. I have the manifesto that I will not be sharing of this sick SOB. This was a hate crime against Christians and Jews, and he made that very clear. His goal was to smear both. And that's what it looks like here. It looks like just more hate fueling, right? The man identifies himself as John Ernest. He says he is married, has children, and is in nursing school. I've seen plenty of mentally ill patients. It's heartbreaking, and I know what it looks like. No, I do not have a mental illness. Right. Ryan Saavedra reports, with the shooting at the Shabbat of Poway Synagogue today, remember that the New York Times promoted anti-Semitism this week and refused to apologize for it. He also says some choice words about conservatives. Are you a conservative? I am not a useless, spineless coward, so no, I'm not a conservative. I refuse to read the rest because it's hate-filled drivel. And here's a tweet from the POTUS. Thoughts and prayers to all those affected by the shooting at the synagogue in Poway, California. God bless you all. Suspect apprehended. Law enforcement did outstanding job. Thank you. Yeah, and it looked like an off-duty cop kind of helped chase this guy off, shot at his car as he drove away. This is another terrible story, and it looks like it could have been a lot worse, but thanks to the San Diego PD and to that off-duty cop, the San Diego sheriff seems to report that they have apprehended the subject, and if you want to go find out more on Twitter, just go over here to San Diego Sheriff. All right, kids, those are your Q posts for today. As always, if you like this video, please click like, share, and subscribe. Thanks to all of you who do that already. And if you're new to my channel, please understand that from time to time, you're going to get unclicked and unnotified and unsubscribed. So please don't email me about it. I don't need to get notified. I already know that. I tell you that in every video. Just do me a favor and just come back and re-click yourself and recheck yourself and resubscribe yourself. I'd greatly appreciate it. I will hopefully be out of Twitter jail in about, I don't know, 8 to 10 hours. We'll see. So I will post the video once I am able to post, but right now I'm not able to do anything but look. Can't even respond to you guys. Can't even like your tweets, darn it. Nah. All right, my alternate links are down below to my Gab, my BitChute, my Brighteon.com, and of course my Twitter over here at IPOT 1776. That's at IPOT 1776. All those links are down below. My email is down below if you would like to email me some information. And if you'd like to send something old school, my P.O. box is down below. Thanks to all of you who've been sending things to my P.O. box. I got the glasses. I got the, oh my gosh, I got the cards. I got all the wonderful stuff, some cookies. And someone from Japan made me a wonderful origami box, which is absolutely beautiful. I'll get some pictures of that and post that probably on my Twitter. Thank you guys so much to those of you who sent some really sweet gifts to my P.O. box. I really appreciate it. Keep in mind that I don't live in the United States, so I have to check every once in a while when I can come back and check, but I really, really appreciate all the nice gifts. Also, if you'd like to support the channel, my Patreon link is down below. All of those links are down below in the video description. And Patrick, what's that funky tune that you're always playing? It's down below in the video description. All of it is. All right, kids, this is Sir Patrick Mack, and until next time, stay funky fresh.